Okay, good afternoon. Okay, we are totally up and running. So let me take this from here. Let me rest this right here. And let me put this right here. My sound is good. Testing one, two. Okay, that's beautiful. That's great there. So let's make sure everything is percolating right. And so now we could get started. Put that right there. Alrighty. Okay, good. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is December 31st, 2021, approximately a quarter to 4 p.m. here in the sunny, beautiful Bahamas. I hope you're enjoying that beautiful view. I think the temperature is probably about 84, 85 degrees, maybe less, maybe more. I don't care. I love it. I love what I have out here. This is so, so beautiful. And of course, we're going to continue with our teaching. We have a beautiful teaching today. Very, very, in fact, I was very, very excited about this particular teaching today, and we're carrying over with the topic. Let me get it here again. I don't want to lose my page here. Right. Yes, so we're continuing with breaking the mindset of poverty going into 2022. This is part 6 of this series. And the reality is, if you want more of this, then you'll have to let me know in the comment box below. The idea was to discontinue this today. But if you want us to go into next year, because all I got is nuggets for you in revelation and wisdom and knowledge on this stuff. So if you want me to continue, then you do that at the bottom of the comments here. Okay. Last night, we had a very, very short but power pack teaching as it relates to breaking the mindset of poverty, and that's what this series is about. In order to go forward successfully with our finances, we have to break what has been programmed here for years. Doesn't matter how much resources you have, no matter how wealthy you become. If somebody bless you with $1 trillion next year, I can assure you, you'll find yourself in the same position again, simply because the mindset of poverty was not broken. Last night we dealt with the hasty, or with the hasty spirit, and specifically talking about those who are always anxious to do things and to make decisions quickly. They're always in a hurry and a rush. These people are noted such as compulsive spenders, impulsive spenders, never thinking ahead or thinking about the future. They want it now. If that can't happen now, they don't want to hear it. And this is unfortunate because they do not know it is a spirit that's on them that's literally pressuring them to do this. And only at the end of that foolish move, they now begin to see the reality of how much deeper they've dug themselves into this financial pit. So all of my series so far is really getting you, the listener, to confront yourself as it relates to these teachings and making a committed and determined effort to discontinue the path that you're on and make the necessary adjustments and committing to it in order to get a different result next year, 2022. I thought these teachings were very important, particularly now because, today is the 31st, and most churches will be filled with people, and most of them come there to, make it right with God and so on. Unfortunately, some of them are there because they're broke, because they're depressed, because whatever it may be. Now, I know you may be saying, well, Kevin, that's the reason why they're supposed to be there. No, they should be there to continue their relationship with God. So until they get the relationship part of it figured out, then they will continually seek God for a quick fix. And that's something that in this ministry we tend to avoid. Get your soul right first, because that's the first protocol in developing a personal relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. As a result of that, now you're totally exposed to the benefits that comes along with that as a result of following His rules, His laws, and His principles to cause those things to happen in your life. So I don't want to delay any further. Again, today we'll continue with part 6 of breaking the mindset of poverty going into 2022. And our subtopic today, this is so awesome, yeah? Our subtopic today is purchasing power through savings. I can explain it to you. Purchasing power through savings. This is going to be powerful. I hope you have a pen. I hope you have a pencil or whatever, notepad, book, because I'm going to give some scriptures. We're going to go through not a lot of scriptures, but we're going to cover two particular scriptures that has a lot of content, but at the same time, a lot of revelation. And we're going to extract via the guiding of the Holy Spirit those financial nuggets and advice that we should take heed of and now begin to use it to get the same results these people are going to speak about God also, all right? So our subtopic today is purchasing power through savings. Okay, now, Kevin, what do you mean by that? Well, for those of you who don't know, I love finances. I love economics. I never did a course or anything in it, but I was always intrigued by that. Read dozens of books on it, and I just love it. I love handling those things, all right? And I believe in being shrewd and smart. I never believe in working hard. I used to take that motto on before, work hard and you'll be successful. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it anymore. The reason why I don't believe in it anymore, because I find that working smarter rather than harder yields more results. Okay? Let's be clear there, all right? So what is purchasing power from an economic standpoint? Well, purchasing power is simply this. It is the purchasing power that a currency has. Or, for example, here in the Bahamas, it will be, for example, how much goods and services can you get from the value of your money? I'll give you a perfect example as it relates to purchasing power. Okay, what we can get now for $1, and just for those of you who don't know, the Bahamian dollar is very strong. In fact, we're 1-to-1 with America. All right, so we are on par in terms of that, right? Anyway, years ago, what you could get out of the store for $20, I'll go back even like 20, 30 years ago. You cannot get nowhere that right now for the same $20. So this is where purchasing power. How much value do your money have now for goods and services compared to back then? Now, even though that's the definition of purchasing power, that is not the definition we're going to use today because of the teaching I'm giving you today. Now, remember, our topic is purchasing power through savings. So the purchasing power that I'm talking about today is saving your money so that you would be in a position with financial power to purchase the things that you want. Let me let that just marinate just a little bit. So we're not using purchasing power and its true definition for the sake of this teaching, okay? The definition of purchasing power for the sake of this teaching would be the power that lies in the individual, okay, to purchase, literally being backed by what they have saved. All right, let me just give you a quick example of it so you'll know exactly where we're going. Okay, Deidre and I are in the middle of some heavy renovations right now with our home, right? Very, very expensive renovation. Now, prior to us taking on this particular project, we budgeted. Like I tell you, she is the person who deals with the decor and all of that other stuff. I'm not interested in that. I mean, I like to see the pretty stuff, and she does an excellent job. And I also told you she's an excellent organizer. She's even noted for that at her school. And anywhere she goes, she into that stuff. So I said to her, okay, the tiles you want, paint you want, type furniture, what to do, you and whomever you want to take with you, you go, and you now begin to check out the prices on it. The only thing I want to see is the prices. That's all I'm interested in. Whatever you get, that's fine. So she did just that. So once everything was tallied up in terms of the supplies, the next thing I wanted to find out was how much would it be feasible to get a contractor and who will take care of all of the electrician and plumbing and so on? Or would it be cheaper if I were to get those things myself? Now, to do any of what I just said to you, your options would be very minimal if you have no purchasing power, meaning that if you don't have the funds in your bank account, then that means you'll have to go and borrow those funds, and more than likely it'll be from a lending institution. As a result of that, depending on what you're going there to borrow and so on, will determine whether or not they're going to lend it to you, and there are going to be conditions with that. Okay, so if you say I'm going there for a renovation or to build a place, okay, some banks will be like, okay, we'll give you the money in stages, and then you'll have to bring us the invoices, and no. So again, purchasing power from this perspective is I don't need none of that. I've already budgeted, and I have those funds, and I know what I'm going to do. Now, most people wouldn't have those funds right away. So let's say your entire renovation, let's just hypothetically say it came to $30,000, all right? Okay, so you probably want to do that renovation, let's say within the next year or two, all right? Or even a year and a half from now, even a year. So what do you do now to now put yourself in that position? Okay, let's say a year and a half, which is a total of 18 months, right? So what do we do now? After we already found out how much our supplies cost and how much the plumber, the electrician, the tile guy, whatever, or even just bringing in the contractor, you already know how much that costs. And let's hypothetically say everything came to 30,000. So what we're going to do now is take 18 and divide it into this 30,000 to see what figure we're going to get now per month. All right? So what do we do now? And let's just hypothetically say, because I didn't calculate none of that, let's say everything came to like $500 a month, or even $700 a month, right? Whatever it is, 1,000, whatever, I don't care, whatever it is. So what you're going to do now, you're going to now say, okay, we're going to make a commitment, because at this point you already know what your financial dashboard is even before this project, so you know what's going out, you know what's coming in, okay? So you see now, okay, now at best we're going to do, the worst case scenario here is we're going to now try to save at least half of what this would have been a month, put this aside towards the end of this period. Half, if you could do the whole thing, fine. The bottom line is this: when the end of that year, year and a half comes, you have purchasing power. So what we decided to do, right, is just really focus on what the contractors would have been charging, because we're not really, but yeah, when I say contractors, because we got different people to do different stuff. So what we focus on is let us go and buy our materials, right, now, keep them home, store them. So now when it's time to bring in these guys, we're really just paying for the labor. But even in purchasing those materials, again, you budget for it. So again, what I'm trying to show you, even before I get into the story that's going to really blow this whole thing open, is that you're working smarter rather than working harder. Many people I know work hard and they're broke, they're struggling. Now our way of doing it, folks would sit back and say, wow, boy, these folks are always doing something different, or they do, and they would think you're rich. No, that's what smarter does. It gives others the impression that you're loaded or impression that you're rich because you're working smarter. You're not trying to do everything one time and borrowing this and exhausting all your resources. And at the end of the day, you left with nothing, and an accident comes up and you cannot address that. So you work smarter, you work in stages. You don't know rush. Remember we did yesterday on the teaching on being hasty. So you're gonna work smarter. What I do not want to go to a financial institution. And if I do, I want to go there for the minimum. So let me cover as much as I could. Let me be as disciplined as I could with what I have. And worst case scenario, I want to go there for no more than probably for a quarter of this entire project. And I said it so I could look at an even quicker way to pay this off. All right? So this is how we have to look at these things. The purchasing power. Let's save our funds. And I said to you over and over in this series, there's nothing wrong with saving your money. That's the best position you could put yourself in, because when you get to that point, when you want to purchase something, you don't have to be pulling your hair out. You don't have to be putting yourself in more debt. Just save. Okay? Even with Deidre's vehicle that she has now, nice vehicle, expensive vehicle, But if I tell you what we did to get that, you'd be like, boy, wow, that must be really patient people. Right, because see, patience is synonymous with discipline. So when you make that move, you go there and boop, 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 I'm finished with this. I'm not looking for a bank note. I'm not looking for someone to call me when I miss a payment. You should be thinking, this is how you break in that mindset. I'm going to discontinue acquiring things and not truly owning it because I owe someone or some institution, I have some agreement that I have to be paying them back X amount of money. You don't want that. Okay, so I want us to go into this story, this powerful story that is going to give some really, really powerful information as it relates to financial advice. All right, I taught on this in many places before, and I feel this is the time now in this series to bring this up. Okay, so I want us to go to Genesis chapter 41, right? Genesis chapter 41. In fact, in your spare time, you could read the entire story, right? But we want to focus on the economic part of it. But before we get there, Genesis chapter 41, verses 1 to verse 32, speaks about these dreams that Pharaoh, the Pharaoh of Egypt, had. Okay? And the first dream that he had where he saw these skinny cows, 7 skinny cows, consuming these 7 huge cows. After that dream, he had a second dream. And in the second dream, he saw where these skinny corn was consuming, 7 skinny corn, I believe it was, consuming 7 bigger corns. The dream baffled him, okay? At this time, Joseph the dreamer was in prison, falsely accused of attempting to rape Potiphar's wife. Potiphar would have been the guy whom he was the butler for this man's home. So it was advised to Pharaoh that there was this guy in the prison who was very accurate in dreams. And I think it was his armor bearer that told him this, whom Joseph would have interpreted the dream for him while the armor bearer and the baker were in prison. Anyway, the dream came to pass about 2 years later. When this incident came up about the dream, he conveyed how Joseph was so accurate at dreaming and so on and interpreting it. So they sent for Joseph. The Bible said Joseph shaved himself and presented himself to meet the Pharaoh. And as soon as the Pharaoh saw him, he said, it has been told me that you interpret dreams. And what I love about this story is that immediately Joseph checked him. He says, no. Only God gives the interpretation for dreams. And right there he was saying he was just a conduit or a vessel. At the same time, I want you to see in the story, before we even get into what we're going to get into, how Joseph's gift of dream interpretation is now making room for him. Just like the scripture would say, your gift will make room for you and bring you before great men. Pharaoh at that time and Egypt was the superpower of the world. So this guy is being brought into the company and the arena of the world's greatest at this point. Long story short, Pharaoh began to reiterate both dreams to Joseph. And after doing that, Joseph looked at him and he says, wow. He says, behold, both dreams are one. And the reason why you would have had both dreams is God is confirming what he is about to do. Now he goes into the interpretation. He said, the skinny calf and the skinny corn, the fat corn and anyway, you know what I mean, right? Both parties are showing, he said it's going to be 7 years of plenty, which is going to be accompanied by an additional 7 years of famine. And he said that the famine is going to be so egregious that these people wouldn't even remember there were 7 years of plenty. Anyway, he revealed the entire dream to him. Now, I want us to pick up now from verse 33, and we're going to read to verse 40, because now this is where the financial advice, how to strategize, okay, during these times. Man, this is going to be so powerful right now, and I really, really want you to listen to this and to see yourself in the story. To see yourself in the story, okay? Let me wait for this thing to pull up here. So I don't want you to just hear this as a story, I'm telling you, but to see yourself in the story. Because I tell you, everything I've repeated in these teachings so far, I am living, or I lived it to bring me to where I am today. All right? My financial wisdom and understanding didn't come from a school. Yes, I read books on these things, but at the same time, most of it came from the scriptures, okay? So let's go here now to Genesis 41 and beginning at 33, all right? Okay, so after the dreams was already interpreted by Mr. Joseph, Joseph now is going to give Pharaoh some financial advice, all right? So verse 33 of Genesis 41 says, "Now therefore," this is Joseph speaking, "let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 years of plenty." So what is he telling him? He said, "Now Pharaoh, here's what you need to do. You need to first of all get a manager. Get a person who's discreet, who is wise, who know how to strategize, organize, who understand finances and economy." He's saying what to do. He says, now you must also get some officers and now appoint them throughout all of the land of Egypt. And during the 7 years of plenty, each year, he said, let them take a 5th part and store it. So set up storehouses, and you're going to take a 5th part of all of the wheat, the barley, everything that Egypt would produce. And a 5th part means you're going to take 20%. 20% of everything that Egypt produces from this 7 years of plenty. Listen, the jobs of these officers is to institute that 20% is stored throughout those 7 years, each of those 7 years in these storehouses, right? So verse 35 of Genesis 41 says, he says, "And let them gather all the food of those good years, and come and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine." So you see what's happening here, and this is how you should be thinking. What you do during the time when God bless you, during the time things begin to move for you, during the time when you get that increase on the job or that promotion, making more money. See, you got to do like you when you get that promotion, you got to behave like that increase saying there, meaning that I didn't have this before, so this additional increase, let me save this. Okay, let me save this every pay period. I got another $300 increase, whatever, or $50, whatever. Let me put this aside like I never was getting this, because I wasn't getting it before. I was still surviving before, right? So let me put this aside. And what are you doing? Through your saving, you're now empowering yourself for the future when it comes to purchasing power. You don't have to rely on an institute or go borrow from a friend or go borrow from a family member who can talk about you later and say you're always begging them for money. You know how these people go. So what you're doing now is that you're fortifying yourself by putting things in place, being committed like these fellas to that, committed to that, so that when it's time now for me to make my moves in life or dealing with projects, I don't have to be going outside of my sphere seeking financial assistance. At maximum, if I do, it'll be very small amounts I have to go looking for. All right? So it says here in verse 37, verse 36, "And that food shall be for store for the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants," meaning that they were pleased with this strategic economic plan that Joseph is now presenting to them. Verse 38 of Genesis 41. "And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man whom the Spirit of God is?" So they're saying to each other, man, this is the fella here. He just revealed his whole resume to us. You are the person you're asking Mr. Pharaoh to go and seek. You are that one. You are the one with the wisdom. You are the one with the dream interpretation, the skills, everything he have to do the job. I love this story. Yeah? I so love this story. Okay, watch this now. In verse 38, and Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? Verse 39, and Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God had shown thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. My God, look how God given this man favor. All because of his wisdom, his knowledge, his understanding that God gave him. I love this story. Yeah? This is such an awesome story. Verse 40 says, thou shalt be, this is Pharaoh now speaking to Joseph, thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain upon his neck. Verse 43 of Genesis 41. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried before him, bow the knee, and he made him rule over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name, whatever that long name is, and he gave him to wife that lady also, the daughter of Potiphar's priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went through all the land of Egypt. And in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. A boat is about to pass us right now, so I'll stall just for a little bit. All right. In the meantime, you can just look at this, how we do it here in the Bahamas. Okay. So as you can see, this guy Joseph has been elevated as the second person in charge of Egypt. Now this is really, really powerful. So you're going to see this boat pass right now. Again, I'm going to let it pass because it's kind of making a lot of noise here. Okay, but this story is just wonderful. Powerful story. Okay. Here we go. Alrighty. So verse 48. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities, the food of the field which was found, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. So that means there were storehouses throughout all of the cities of Egypt. And Joseph, who was in charge, they took him through all the cities where he was supervising and ensuring that the officers were doing what they were supposed to do. And the reason for this is the fact that, see, we cannot allow people to be in charge of our finances who don't understand, who don't care, who don't have a sense of responsibility and discipline. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are going to be affected if you're not doing what is right. So Joseph, who was in charge, now has to see and ensure that the officers were doing what they're supposed to do, making sure that the 20% of every piece of harvest that was being produced in the land of Egypt was being stored, because he knew, God showed him the map already, the vision, as to what's going to happen after these 7 years. Many of you, God has warned in a dream, warned through prophecy, warned in a vision. And sometimes you probably were just watching a television program or listening to some televangelists, and God used them, no matter how they operating, and spoke a word to you as a warning or giving you a heads up as to what's going to come. And the reason why he's doing it was the same reason why he's going to these guys, is so that you can now be proactive. Don't let this thing catch you off guard. Prepare yourself now. People are going to laugh. Why are you driving that old raggedy car? My God, you can't buy yourself some new clothes. You know what you're dealing with. You know what your projects are. You know what you what your goals are. Why are you allowing this person who has no business to your business influence you through their condescending words to now follow them, and they're going nowhere? No, man, no, no, no. So you have to be wise. You have to be wise. You have to be wise in regard to being committed to what you know you need to do to make life better for you. And I have proven that. I have proven that. I tell you, people today wonder how does Kevin make it? That's not your business. How does Kevin survive? He left his job. This boy here ain't no good. He crazy. He will leave the good job, let him making that kind of money. That's not your business. You don't know what I did. You don't know how I prepared. You don't know what I put in place. You know nothing about me other than what you see and assume. And it is not my job to correct you in anything that you assume. So while they're out there bawling and doing what they have to do, then you do what you have to do. You save. You save, because the day is coming. Nothing lasts forever, even the good days. So it is what you do during the good times and the good days of plenty that's going to determine how you're going to perform in the day of lack, in the day of struggling. Okay? Corona, many people lost their jobs, and the pandemic caused a lot of that didn't affect me. The reason why it didn't affect myself and my family, we prepared. When you prepared and look at different streams of revenue as opposed to just one stream. So when that pandemic come and those who just had one job, boom, your whole source gone. And I'm telling you these things and trying to teach you these things because in order to do better in 22, you have to break up that mindset of poverty. You have to crush that and make a determination that I'm not going to continue to think and operate this way anymore, because it has been proven over the years that this yields little to nothing. We have to try something different. And the key things here are going to be planning, discipline, and saving. Those three components right there. And any one you pull out of there is going to be a problem for you as you head towards the future. All right? So the Bible says here in verse 49, and Joseph gathered corn as the son of the seed. Did I go there? No? Okay, let's go to verse 51 of Genesis 41. And Joseph called the name of, this is where he had his children and so on. I want to pass it. Verse 54. And the 7 years of famine began to come, according as Joseph had said, and the dearth was in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. You hear that? It was poverty everywhere now. Everybody suffering. You see? Now what happened here? This is powerful. This is powerful. This is powerful. Let me read that again. Verse 54 of Genesis 41. And the 7 years of dearth began to come, or the 7 years of famine began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the famine was in all lands, meaning not just Egypt was experiencing this, all lands. Listen though, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread, or there was supplies. So right away now, you're going to watch someone, watch this now. Oh God, I love this so much. If you're, please hear what I'm saying to you today. Continue to save as much as you could. You may say, Kevin, I'm making enough money to save. That's not true. Make some adjustments in those bills that are adjustable. You can adjust the power bill. You can adjust a water bill. You can adjust a gas bill. Those things are adjustable. Where you're saving, in those areas, you take that money and you now begin to store it. After a while of accumulating funds, when rough times come, like we're about to see right now, see, not everybody was privy to this revelation that God gave Pharaoh, in which Joseph interpreted. Not all of the other countries, just Egypt. So Egypt is now being set up for wealth, okay? But they're not working hard for it. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This was my opening statement. They're working smart for it by preparing then, so that when the famine comes, they're going to be in a super position. So now that the surrounding countries or land have no bread and resources, they got to come to those who have. That will be you. And this is where now supply and demand going to run its course unhindered. You got the supply, they're making a demand for it. So whatever you say this cost, they got to go with that. So you see how life is? And it's all about planning. So don't tell me work hard and things. That's not true. You could stay out here in the sun all day and make brick and paid 50 cents for it. There are people all over this world, and these countries are very, very poor, and they're taking advantage of the wages of those people, and they're working hard. Some people got to climb these. I was watching something on YouTube the other day. Man, these people got to climb these mountains for a certain product and come down there paid cents on the dollar. So they're working hard, but they will never be comfortable. They will forget being rich. So what we're looking at going into 2002, we want to abolish the concept of working hard and now implement the concept of working smart now, much smarter than we did before. We figured by doing hard work. Tell me, what did you profit from doing hard work? Other than having an achy body, restless, not getting enough sleep? No. How can you work harder? Smarter, sorry. I work very smart. God has blessed me with many gifts. The gift of writing, the gift of articulation, all of this other stuff. That worked for me. So what is it that you have? You've been sitting on all these years. Why? Because we go back to the church again, because this is where most people waste their talents. You're sitting in there because you want to be pastor, you want to be bishop, you want to be... Nobody never fights to be usher. I don't understand that. I've never seen somebody fight and hang around to be head usher. Huh? I've never seen where people who fight to give the ushers prefixes. Nobody say they're a major usher or boss usher or prophetic usher. So you see what I'm saying to you. I know I'm being comical here, but the reality is, and in all seriousness, many of you are sitting right there with sitting on your gifts. If I never ventured and take on social media, and many laughed at me. Listen, when I told you, they called me the internet pastor. Friends used to see me, man, every time I get up in the night, I see you on Facebook, man, and you writing this and you do this. Now look at me today. The whole story changed. See, all of that, God was building my confidence in the gift that I had. And now when the day come, when the world now make a demand on this, watch and see how the door is going to open, which has happened for me, and which will continue to happen for me. So this is what I'm saying to you. You may say, well, Kevin, I didn't go to college. And I didn't go to college. At least let me not say that. I did a small bit of college. But what I'm saying to you is college isn't going to make you rich. College is going to make you wealthy. What is going to do those things is that your commitment in working smarter to achieve the goals that you want. I endorse going to college. I endorse in furthering your education. I did some college. I did some vocational programs. I have a certificate in air conditioning and refrigeration. And the reason why I did those things was that I always figured that worst case scenario, if I were to lose my job or something, I need something where I don't have to go put in an application somewhere, wait for them to call me, be screened by an interview. I have to wait for 2 weeks before they first start paying me. No. When I got my certificate for air conditioning, I used to do a lot of jobs on the weekend. In fact, I used to be making more money. This was years ago. More money than I used to make more money on the weekend than what I was getting for my 2 week salary. Just fixing refrigerators and little air conditions here and there and gassing up cars, vehicles, and so on. So that was always a backup that in case something go wrong, hey, look, I could go make me some business card right now, put some gas in my car, drop these business cards off to different people. I know a lot of people from this job. Let them know if they need me to fix this or whatever, give me a call. And furthermore, my instructor, because I graduated with honors actually, my instructor, because he had a business of his own, but whenever he got so busy, he would call me, Kevin, I got a few jobs. You think you could do this for me? Oh, yeah, definitely. So you always have to have a backup plan. You cannot put all of your eggs in one basket, like we say here in the islands. You have to be wise, and that's a part of breaking the mindset of poverty. Stop thinking like everybody else. Listen, let me give you this nugget. You have to be different. Kevin, how do I be different? This is the easiest question to answer. You be different by being you. What you mean by that, Kev? Too many people trying to be like somebody else. Too many people trying to get rich. Discontinue trying to get rich, because in your attempts in trying to get rich, you're going to become poor. And I'm going to give you a few scriptures on that before we close out in this session. Your whole mindset in terms of trying to create a better life for you is going to be, like I said, planning, saving, discipline. Another part of that is always seeking the needs of others, helping them, as you are led, of course. All of these things are going to come together to take you to the destiny in which you seek. One of comfort, one of where you don't have to be bogged down with bills and this and that. Because you have things in place and you've created other streams of revenue to put in your consolidatory fund. So again, all of this is building your purchasing power, the ability to always be in a position that when I purchase an item, I am buying it debt-free. And that is the mindset my family and myself have. No, we're not rich by the standard of the world, but we are rich in wisdom that we are working smarter as opposed to working harder. So long story short here, Joseph, and I'm going to give you, because I don't want the sun to fall out on me, right? I want this to still be up, okay? So long story short, in fact, let me just give you the other scriptures so that you will now know where to go, okay? So the scriptures that we've read so far is, well, of course, we gave the summary of the dreams, which is Genesis 41 verses 1 to 32, right? The financial advice is going to be given in Genesis 40 verses 33 to verse 40, okay? The remainder of that advice we're going to get from Genesis chapter 46 to 57, Genesis 41, Genesis chapter 41, and we're going to read from verse 46 to verse 57. And then the final information will be Genesis chapter 47, verses 13 to 27. And this is what we're going to get to next. But let me just bring this home a little bit, right? So check this out. So here it is now. Joseph has put Egypt in this super economic position where all the eyes of the world is now on them. Why? Because they have what the world wants. And that's how wealth is going to come to you. What is it? What is it that, and you have something. And in order to discover that something, you got to discover what make you different. See, listen, to be different is to be who you are called to be. To be different is, I am different. I am different in my presentation. You know, many people, no longer than before I came out here, I was reading something on my Facebook. People always trying to tell me, oh, I need you to, I don't like when you say fool. I don't like when you wear the chain. I don't like how you wear a hat. See, what they're trying to do is make you them. You're not them. And don't ever let anybody make you whom they want you. Sometimes they don't even want you to be them. They want you to be a puppet to them. But that's not making you different. How to be different? By being you. Who are you? Are you funny? Are you a person who like to have fun or whatever it is? Be you. A lot of people who close to me, they're shocked to who I am. My wife isn't, because she know me. She know I'm a clown. I love to be funny. She know that. She gets it from me all the time. I love to dance. I love nature. Nobody's going to take that from me. Nobody's going to tell me how to preach, when to preach, what to preach. You cannot. Anyway, you know what? It's aggravating, because when people, that's why I cannot stand controllers. What a controller, what a manipulator does is they steal your identity by imposing their will on you. No, man, and that's why with me and you, anyone who've watched me long enough, and if you listen to the undertone of my teaching, I'm teaching you to be free in your liberty in Christ. No covering, no none of this foolishness. I want you to be you in the things of God, of course, governed by the laws of God. Don't let nobody make you them or make you a version of what you're not. You be you. No one could ever stop me from the way I present the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's me. If you don't like it, move on. If you don't like it, go to someone else who you think is more serious, who you think is more whatever. But don't try to dictate how I should be by your standards. And this is why you have a lot of people sitting in church right now, and they're all robots to their leaders. That couldn't happen for me. And when the leaders see that you're not conforming to that, now the titles come to make you feel guilty. You don't want to submit. You know nothing about sonship. You need to submit to your leaders. Submission, submit, that's all you hear. But really what it is though, really what it is that you need to be a robot like everybody else, and you need to jump when I say jump. Well, that can't happen here. And my wife, anybody that knows me personally, if you want to end our friendship right away, no delay, you don't even just attempt to try to control me or try to tell me how a 51-year-old, you dictating to, that cannot happen. Can you make a suggestion? Yes. Can you share your ideas? Yes. Can you say, Kevin, I feel if you try this, I welcome that, man. I have no problem with that. But when you come off to me like you could tell me what, no, that's not going to happen. So in order to be different, so see, because when you stay true to who you are called to be, this is when you now begin to discover what you are called to be. I knew I had a gift of teaching. I was very shy, very, very shy, very, very fearful, very, very scary. My mother could tell you I was a fearful little boy, all the way up into adulthood. I'd say even all the way up to my 30s. Very, 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 very super shy. And I told you my story. One time I prayed because I knew I had the gift of teaching. I knew whenever I spoke about the Bible or spoke about things, and I always had I was always good at retaining stuff, and not just the retention of it, but I understood it, and that is why I could explain it verbatim, because once I would have read it and grasped the concept of it, then I could run with it. So no matter where I go, I could talk about that as if I mastered it and bring it from different scenarios, sprinkle it with some humor, and people just eat up on it. I knew I had this, but what I also knew that my greatest hurdle was my fear. The idea of standing before a mic and listen, listen, when I tell you nervous to the point that in some cases I would freeze up, my hand would shake, I would sweat, you name it. And when I pleaded with God to please, I said, Lord, if you take this fear from me, I will preach your gospel, I promise you. And he did. He did. And from that day forward, are there times when I would have a little butterflies here and there? Very rare, very rare. But when I mount that pulpit, man, it's all over. Because I have so many strategies to overcome that. One of the first things I do is I come out with some humor. And all I'm doing is engaging my crowd to get them comfortable with me and that knock out whatever fear right away. So as time go on and being you, the Holy Spirit will give you strategies to become immediately comfortable, and now begin to flow. But the greatest version of you is you. And if you're trying to be Kevin, if you're trying to be your pastor, you will never truly be whom you are called to be. I say to you all the time, I have so many friends who are now pastors or striving to be pastors, they're lay ministers. And whenever I listen to them minister, I turn off the computer, whatever, the TV, or go to something else. Why? Because I could hear their pastor in them. All of the hooping, the hollering, and all of the behavioral patterns of them. I'm like, this isn't what God called you to be. You're not being true to you, because you're trying to be someone else and something else. Nobody could never, ever get me to be something else, but I know what I was called to do. And I'm very, very effective at what I do. I don't want to be T.D. Jakes, beautiful person. I don't want to be Joel Osteen, beautiful person. Whomever they are, they're being them. God, that if God wanted another TD Jakes, then he would make a twin, okay? Or he'd make them, join them together. No, so the best way of being different is to simply be you. Very simple. So back to our story. Joseph remained who he was. He was not a person that was filled with hate or anger, whatever. And all of that ushered him with his gift into the presence of men of renown. As a result of that, God rewarded him. God rewarded him. God gave him favor. But all of this, he had to use his gift, not impersonating his pastor, not impersonating his teacher. No, all of the skill sets that he got underneath them was to enhance whom he was called to be. So when he, just like Kevin Ewing, when Kevin step up on that pulpit, when Kevin come before you, Kevin, people want to hear, oh, I want to hear what Kevin have to say, because Kevin can be Kevin. Kevin ain't gonna be nobody else. You can like him or you can hate him, and that's with all mankind. But I'm not here to adjust to the temperature you have of me. Oh, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. No. See, because you will be a puppet. Remember now, there are a whole audience of people watching you. And could you fathom in your mind adjusting to everyone's view of you? Or this one think you're too nice. This one think you should be a little bit more harsh. This one of your thing that there's certain things that you say they don't like, and they don't like this and that, and this one you said that they're offended about the seed, and this one you said that, oh, give it to them, Kevin, they too no good. And I don't have time for none of them. I was sent on a mission. This is the way I present it. Again, take it or leave it. But you're not going to get me to change for you. No, and that's the problem we have in the gospel today. Too many people trying to appease others as opposed to appeasing the one who sent them, right? So Joseph here is now a financial strategist for Pharaoh. Pharaoh gets to sit back and watch this guy make him money like nobody business. And everybody is now coming to Egypt. And now they need the food. So, hey, we got it. So what you got to give us? Because, back then they had the bartering system, meaning that, okay, you got a whole hog there. Okay, sorry, I got a whole hog here. I need 30 chickens for this hog. And as you're about to see in this, after these guys ran out of stuff to battle with, the next thing Joseph did was now went off. He said, okay, you have nothing else to give us for our grain and wheat, right? So we want your property now. They couldn't tell him, no, you aren't in the position to do that. You're not in that position. You cannot bargain. You cannot negotiate no more. You need what we have. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here. So now guess what? Joseph and Egypt now determine how much we will take, or what we will do. He said, now give us the land for the wheat. So let's quickly go there. So let's go to Genesis chapter 47, and we can read from verse 13 to verse 27. Okay, Genesis 47, and we're going to read from verse 13, right? Now listen to this. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. That's all the money he made for him. And when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. And Joseph said, give your cattle then. If seeing that the money failed, come bring your cattle. You want more money? Bring the cattle. And I will give you, and I will give you for your cattle if your money fail. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange. Okay, so they brought their cattle. Can you imagine that? So you see what happened when you don't plan? You got to now sell off your stuff like some kind of Jones or bum. All your car you done pay $5 million for. Now you got to sell it for a loaf of bread. This is what happens when you don't plan. This is what happens when you materialistic. You buying Mercedes and boats and jets and foolishness. You got a huge debt to the bank. The one job you had that was funding, barely funding that, you lost that. So what happens now? A person like Kevin or somebody else who was planning all along, who wanted to buy a Mercedes, but they wasn't going to spend all that money on it, but you came along Okay, you have a Mercedes now, but they could get it at a fraction of the price because you can't negotiate here because you need money. You need something. And I'm willing to give you this for your car. Take it or leave it. In fact, I'm walking off and I'm not here to go. So the truth is, the one who never planned has no negotiating power. No, you are not subject to the one who has purchasing power. I'm trying to help somebody, man. I'm trying to help you. Listen to this now. And verse 18, when that year was ended, they came unto him the second year and said unto him, we will not hide it from my Lord, how that our money is spent. My Lord also had our herds of cattle. There is not enough left in the sight of the Lord, but our bodies and our land. So what are they saying now? Okay, we don't have no more money to give you, but we need some bread. Okay, but we have cattle. He said, okay, bring the cattle. All right. Guess what? They run out of cattle. So they say, all we got here now, buddy, the only thing we have was our physical bodies and all of this land right here. That's all you got? Okay, now let me show you the revelation. But let me finish this first and I can show you the revelation. Verse 19. Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he removed them to the cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end therefore. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned to them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them. Wherefore they sold not their land. Then Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the increase that you shall give the fifth part, or 20% unto Pharaoh, and the fourth part shall be your own. So let me just stop right there. You could always finish it. Let me show you how much of a financial genius this dude is. This dude, and this dude ain't even been to college. Listen what he said. Okay, look, you want bread. You've exhausted your funds. Okay, fine. We still can work with you. What you got for us? Well, we got some cattle here. Okay, fine. Bring us some cattle. Boom. Your cattle exhausted. So they realize, they say, okay, Joseph, what we have is the land, all this good, precious land here in our bodies. So he said, I'm going to buy all of it. So the guy bought all of the land in exchange for this thing. And guess what he did? The land what they had was prime land. He now owned them and the land. All of this through the genius, financial, economic genius of Joseph. He's making Egypt richer, listen, in the time of famine. We can get there, but let me slow down a little bit. So going back to the people land now, he bought them out. He now moved them from that prime land and put them on another side of Egypt, right? He put them on another side of Egypt, and now he's giving them seed to cultivate the land that he put them on, which is still Egypt's land. Okay? And now he tell them, now when the harvest come from what you're planting from my seed, we getting 20% of that too. My Lord. You all hear this? You all hear this? You all listen to this? Here's the revelation. I just kind of jump ahead of myself. The revelation is, because they planned in the time of plenty, remember now, they became richer in the time of famine. Why? Because during the time of famine, while they were planning in the time of plenty, during also in the time of plenty, everybody else was balling out their money. Everybody else was thinking as if this can go on forever. They never planned ahead. They never foresee the future and what was about to happen. But those who foresee the future, like we would have read in Proverbs 27 verse 23 last night, it says that a prudent man foreseeth the evil ahead. Just like Joseph those, they saw the famine which was evil. And he hides or prepares himself. But the foolish one,